I have to tell you, I'm amused by the so-called experts who emphatically assert that they know exactly how the Iran war will end. I, for one, wish I had those battle skills, and so does every analyst and battle tracker assigned to the Intelligence and Operations Directorates at CENTCOM. Nobody ever knows how a war will unfold after the first shot is fired. Some highly credentialed analysts, United States and globally, they declare with metaphysical certitude that the U.S. has already lost this war. Some of them unabashedly even appear to be on the IRGC payroll. For example, Scott Ritter, former IAEA inspector for Obama's Iran deal, actually cheers on the Iranians' atrocities and war crimes. However, the more common, soft, anti-war narratives are coming from the mainstream media. On the pro-war side, you'll find sources like Max Afterburner, Business Basics, and 2C TV. But I want to say here that both sides tend to operate under some false assumptions. So let's dive into the most common false assumptions, and let's start with those coming from the Trump administration. Number one, if Trump signs the deal he wants, any deal, he walks away a winner. This is flatly false. Any agreement that leaves the current regime, the IRGC, in power, Trump loses this war. And I'm beginning to think that Trump may believe this as well. And if that's true, all this talk about a deal coming from Trump is actually a disinformation card. Number two, Iran will faithfully abide by any agreement reached, and this is false. This assumption, or I call it a lie, is carried by both sides. And for decades, the Iranian regime has demonstrated that it will circumvent, lie, and cheat on any peace agreement. And the regime, if they have to, they will hide their enrichment facilities even under children's schools, hospitals, mosques, anything that they can hide it with. They're going to lie and cheat. Number three, the U.S. can prevail by aerial bombing alone. There is no need to put U.S. boots on the ground. This is partially false. Wars can never be won without boots on the ground. This is a law of warfare as ironclad as the law of gravity. However, this war may be won by boots on the ground, but I'll get into the details of that later. Now, let's explore the false assumptions by the anti-Trump and pro-IRGC experts. Number one, the coalition bombing will cause the Iranian people to rally around the Iranian regime. This is false. A leaked internal poll by the Iranian Student Polling Agency revealed that 92% of Iranians hold no allegiance whatsoever to the Iranian regime. And additionally, according to sources inside of Iran, they report that an overwhelming majority of Iranians even hold a seething hatred against this regime. And this is because every single Iranian in country, they know somebody, a friend, a coworker, a neighbor, or a family member who has been arrested, beaten, raped, injured, executed, poisoned, murdered in a hospital, or even gunned down in the streets by the IRGC. And there's no better evidence exists of the lost legitimacy of this regime than the hundreds of videos that have been smuggled out of the country of the U.S. airstrikes while the Iranians in the background are overheard cheering the airstrikes. Number two, the Strait of Hormuz is Iran's trump card. And there's no pun intended there. This is false. As long as the U.S. Navy can maintain the blockade against Iranian shipments, thereby strangling Iran's revenue streams, then the U.S. IDF forces hold the time advantage. Number three, after the conflict ends, Iran will continue to control the Strait of Hormuz. This is also false. Not if the current regime falls. A new regime will likely open the Strait of Hormuz and will open it according to international maritime law and then issue the closure of the Hormuz Strait will actually dissolve. It will no longer be an issue. Number 4, some of the pro-Iranian mouthpieces claim that Iran will eventually sink a U.S. ship. Now, this is highly unlikely. It is possible that Iran could strike a U.S. naval vessel. It is also remotely plausible that a missile or drone swarm could actually sink a ship. But the U.S. Navy has a 6-layered defense against Iran's missile and drone swarms, and so far, this layered defense has held firmly against their swarms. Number 5, Iran complied with the JCPOA before Trump canceled it, thereby proving that Iran will faithfully abide by a new agreement. This is also false. In 2018, the Mossad captured 50,000 documents and over 150 CDs on Iran's nuclear program, and this evidence clearly revealed Iran's secret nuclear program, that it was a flagrant violation of the JCPOA at every turn. Number 6, since President Trump won't commit troops to a ground invasion, the U.S. has already lost the war. It is true that if Trump orders a massive ground invasion, it won't be massive. It will be limited to strongholds on the shores of Strait of Hormuz. And it is also true that the air campaign alone will not win this war. Ground troops only win wars. Now pay attention to this last statement. If the IRGC remains in power in any capacity, Trump essentially loses this war, and this problem is going to be kicked down the road another 10 or 20 years, and somebody else will have to deal with this. What is false is the proclamation that Trump has already lost this war, and these experts ignore the most important reports coming out from inside of Iran. The Iranian people will revolt. Trump need not put his boots on the ground, and the Iranian people will do that by virtue of their rebellion. And of course, I'm not privy to the CENTCOM op plan, but I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that the center of gravity in this conflict is the IRGC's grip on power. And the tipping point is whether or not the current regime falls or remains in place. Even the CENTCOM planners don't know how this war is going to unfold after the first shot. So anyone who claims with absolute certainty the outcome of this war either lacks a top security clearance or is peddling an ungrounded political agenda. Thanks for watching.